The end will come by divine design, not by chance. This truth should sober us, but it should also fill us with hope. The universe is not spinning out of control. The events of history are not random accidents. The rise and fall of nations, the turning of seasons, the shaking of the earth, all are under the watchful eye of the one who spoke the world into existence. From the first moment of creation, the end has been known, planned, and set according to his will. So many people live as though life will continue forever just as it is. They fill their days with distractions, chasing pleasures, power, and possessions. But one day the clock will run out, the same voice that said, "Let there be light," will say, "It is finished." And when that day comes, it will not be the result of chaos, nuclear war, or some unforeseen cosmic accident. It will be the purposeful act of a sovereign God bringing history to its appointed conclusion. This world has a beginning and it will have an end. We can trace the evidence all around us, the decay of moral values, the growing unrest between nations, the earth groaning through disasters and calamities. These are not meaningless events. They are signals, reminders that history is moving toward a divine climax. Just as a story has a final chapter, so too will this world reach the page that turns into eternity. People often fear the thought of the world ending because they see it only as destruction, but for those who understand the plan of God, it is not destruction, it is fulfillment. It is the time when wrongs will be made right, when evil will be judged, and when justice will prevail. The end is not the collapse of order, but the completion of a perfect design. Think about this. If the end were random, we would have no assurance, no hope, no certainty. But because it is in the hands of God, we can have peace. He is not surprised by the events that shake our world. He is not scrambling to fix what is broken. He has already written the last line of history, and it will be exactly as he has intended from the very beginning. When the end comes, it will be clear. It will not happen in secret. Every person, every nation, every king, and every commoner will know. The skies will declare it, the earth will tremble beneath it, and the human heart will feel the weight of it. Some will rejoice, others will mourn, but no one will ignore it. The moment will reveal the truth that has always been there, that this world belongs to God, and He alone has authority over its destiny. But here is what matters most: the end of the world will not be the end of you. You are more than flesh and blood. You are an eternal soul, created to live forever. The question is not simply, will the world end? The real question is, where will you be when it does? The divine design includes the destiny of your soul. And right now, while there is still time, the choice is in your hands. Every day you live, you are moving toward that appointed moment. You cannot change the fact that it is coming, but you can decide how you will meet it. You can live unprepared, holding tightly to the things that will vanish in an instant, or you can live ready, anchored in the one who will never pass away. If your trust is in this world, it will crumble with this world. But if your trust is in the eternal God, you will stand secure when everything else falls. The signs are all around us. Nations are in turmoil. Truth is traded for lies. Love grows cold and selfishness reigns. Even the natural world groans with earthquakes, storms, and disasters. These are not coincidences. They are the signals of a clock moving toward midnight. They are the gentle but urgent knock of God on the door of our hearts, calling us to wake up before it is too late. When the end comes, it will be too late to change sides. That is why now is the moment of decision. Today is the day of preparation. No one can make the choice for you. No one can force you to step into the safety of God's kingdom, but the invitation is open. It is open to the rich and the poor, the young and the old, the righteous and the sinner. It is open because the love of God is still calling, still reaching, still saving. The end will come by divine design. The hands that shape the mountains, carve the rivers, and place the stars are the same hands that hold the final moment of history. You need not fear those hands if you are in them. Instead, you can look to the future with hope, knowing that the end is not the closing of life, but the doorway to eternity. For those who belong to Him, that day will be the greatest of all days, the day when faith becomes sight, when every tear is wiped away, and when the story truly begins. The end of the world is not the end of your soul. This truth may sound strange in a time when so much of our thinking is limited to what we can see, touch, and measure. We have been taught to believe that the physical is all there is, that when the earth comes to its final moment, everything will vanish into nothing. But deep inside, every human heart knows there is more. That quiet, persistent voice within us reminds us that we were made for something beyond this life, something that cannot be destroyed by fire, flood, or time itself. When we think of the end of the world, fear often creeps in. We imagine cataclysmic events, cities crumbling, skies darkening, and the earth shaking. The images can be overwhelming, but the greatest tragedy is not that the earth will end one day, it is that millions live unprepared for what comes after. If you are living only for the here and now, your world will end twice. Once when this planet's story is over, and once when your soul stands before the one who gave it life. Your soul is eternal. It will survive the collapse of stars, the passing of seasons, and the fading of all human history. Long after the mountains crumble into dust, your soul will remain. This is why the end of the world should not be our greatest fear. The greater question is, where will your soul be when the dust of this world settles forever? Many live with the idea that they will cross that bridge when they come to it, but eternity is not a bridge you cross by chance, it is a destination you prepare for. Every day you are choosing your eternity by where you place your trust, by the values you live by, and by who you serve. If your life is anchored to things that will pass away, you are building your foundation on sand, and when the storms come, when the earth trembles, that foundation will crumble. But if your life is anchored to the one who is eternal, you will stand firm, even when the world itself falls apart. Think about it, everything around you is temporary. Empires that once ruled the earth are now only chapters in history books. Wealth that once dazzled the eyes has turned to rust and dust. Even the greatest achievements of humanity will one day be forgotten. Yet the soul, your soul, will live on. And because it is eternal, it demands an eternal home. There are only two paths, one that leads to life with the one who created you, and one that leads to separation from him forever. This is why the end of the world should awaken us, not terrify us. For those who are ready, it will not be a day of loss, but a day of fulfillment. It will be the moment when faith becomes sight, when promises become reality, when the temporary gives way to the eternal. It will be the day we step from the shadowlands into the bright, unending light of forever. But readiness does not happen by accident. You cannot prepare for eternity in the last 5 minutes before the sky splits open. You prepare by turning your heart now, while there is still time. You prepare by making peace with your Creator, by surrendering the control of your life to the one who knows the end from the beginning. You prepare by living not for the applause of men, but for the smile of heaven. Some might say, but I have my whole life ahead of me. That may be true or it may not. The truth is, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Life is a vapor, appearing for a little while and then vanishing. The end of the world may come in a single global moment, or it may come for you personally when your time on earth is over. Either way, the question remains the same. Are you ready? When you place your trust in the eternal, the fear of the end begins to fade. You stop clinging to the fragile things of this world, and you start holding on to the promises that cannot be broken. You understand that while the world's story will one day have its final chapter, Your story is just beginning. The end of the world is not a wall you crash into, it's a doorway that leads into eternity. And here is the hope, if you are ready, that doorway does not lead to darkness, but to light, not to despair, but to joy, not to the end, but to a new beginning far greater than anything you could imagine. It will be the moment you step into the presence of the one who made you, who loved you before time began, and who prepared a place for you that no destruction can touch. So when you hear the question, will the world end? Remember this: yes, it will. But that is not the end of you. The soul that has been secured in the eternal will rise above the ashes of a fallen world and live forever. That is why the wisest thing you can do today is not to predict the date of the end, but to prepare for the day it comes, whether in your lifetime or in the lifetime of generations yet to be born. Because when the world's final sunset comes, and the last echo of its history fades away, your soul will still be standing, and eternity will have just begun. There are moments in history when the world feels heavy with change, when events seem to move faster than we can understand, and when every headline feels like another blow to our sense of stability. Wars rage in different corners of the earth. Natural disasters strike without warning. The moral compass of society appears to be spinning in confusion. We watch as truth is twisted, as love grows cold, and as violence and division rise. It can feel overwhelming, even hopeless. But what if these events are not random? What if they are not just the ebb and flow of human history? What if they are, in fact, messages, signs pointing us to a deeper reality? The world has always had trouble, but there is something different about the days we are living in. The intensity, the frequency, and the global scale of the turmoil we face are unlike anything seen before. These are not isolated events, they are connected. They are warning lights on the dashboard of humanity, signaling that something significant is approaching. Throughout the ages, sacred writings have spoken of a time when nations would rise against nations, when the earth would shake more violently, when floods and droughts would become more severe, and when people's hearts would fail them from fear. These descriptions are not meant to entertain or frighten, but to awaken. They are not meant to make us run into panic, but to prepare us to stand in peace. The signs of the times are like a loving parent's voice calling a wandering child back home before danger strikes. When the storms of life come, and they will, it is easy to lose ourselves in anxiety. But the very purpose of these warnings is to give us perspective. If you are driving down a winding road and see a sign that says, "Sharp turn ahead," you do not ignore it. You slow down, you adjust your direction, you prepare. In the same way, the upheavals we see in the world today are not random tragedies. They are reminders that life is fragile, that the systems we trust can fail, and that there is a greater story unfolding. Many people choose to ignore these signs. They distract themselves with entertainment, with wealth, with the busyness of life. But ignoring the warnings does not make the danger disappear, it only leaves us unprepared when it arrives. The wise response is to pay attention, to ask deeper questions, and to seek what cannot be shaken when everything else falls apart. And here is the hope. These signs are not only about endings, they are about beginnings. Just as the dark clouds before a storm often bring the refreshing rain that nourishes the earth, the turbulence of our times points toward the coming of something far greater. There will be a day when injustice is swept away, when every tear is wiped from every eye, when peace will no longer be just a dream but a reality. The warnings are not here to crush our spirit, but to turn our hearts toward that promise. In every generation, there are those who see the signs and change their course. They set aside what is temporary and pursue what is eternal. They make peace with the one who holds the future. They live not in fear, but in readiness. And readiness brings peace, Because you no longer wonder if you will be caught off guard, you know where your foundation lies. When you understand the signs of the times, you do not look at disaster with despair. You see it as a signal. You recognize that the world's troubles are not the end of the story. They are part of the birth pains that lead to a new and better world. Yes, the night may be dark, but the dawn is coming. And for those who are awake, the first rays of that dawn bring joy, not terror. So while others may scoff at the warnings, while they may say, life goes on as it always has, we choose to pay attention, we choose to prepare, we choose to put our trust not in the shifting sands of human power, but in the unshakable rock of the eternal. Because when the signs reach their fullness and the world trembles, we will stand not because we are strong in ourselves, but because we listened, we believed, and we were ready. The signs are all around us. They are not here to harm us, but to help us. They are a voice calling to every heart, saying, now is the time. Return while there is still time. Prepare for what is to come. And when you heed that call, you will find that even in the most turbulent of days, your heart will be steady, your hope will be secure, and your future will be certain. Would you like me to also make this into a powerful YouTube video, script with emotional pauses and audience hooks, so it sounds even more like a real stage speech? That would give it even more impact. Everything in this world that you can see, touch, and hold will one day pass away. The tallest buildings will crumble. The greatest empires will fade into the dust of history. The wealth we strive for, the possessions we guard so carefully, the fame we chase, all of it will vanish like a vapor in the morning sun. This is the truth many refuse to face, yet it is written into the very nature of life. Nothing on this earth lasts forever. We live in a generation that builds its hope on fragile foundations. People place their confidence in their careers, in governments, in technology, in relationships. We tell ourselves, if I can just reach this goal, if I can just get this security, then I'll be safe, then I'll be happy. But history has shown again and again, kingdoms rise and fall, economies boom and crash, leaders promise and fail, and even the closest relationships can change or be broken. When these earthly hopes collapse, many are left empty, lost, and searching for something more. The reason our hearts feel that emptiness is because they were never designed to be satisfied by temporary things. Deep inside, every soul longs for something that cannot die, cannot rust, cannot be taken away. You can fill your hands with gold, but your heart will still hunger for more. You can gain the applause of millions, but your soul will still feel the silence when the crowd goes home. Earthly hopes, no matter how glittering, will one day perish. But there is another hope, an eternal hope. This hope does not depend on the stock market, the stability of nations, or the approval of people. It does not crumble when tragedy strikes or when the storms of life rage. This hope is anchored in something, or rather, someone beyond the reach of time and decay. It is the hope that comes from knowing there is a kingdom that cannot be shaken, a place where there is no death, no sorrow, and no end. Eternal hope is not wishful thinking. It is certainty based on the unchanging promises of God. While the things of earth can be stolen, destroyed, or lost, this hope is untouchable. It is like a lighthouse in the midst of the storm, guiding the weary traveler safely home. It is the knowledge that no matter what you lose in this life, you cannot lose what has been promised in eternity. When you live with eternal hope, your perspective changes. You still work, you still plan, you still enjoy the blessings of life, but you hold them loosely, knowing they are gifts for a season, not guarantees for a lifetime. You can face uncertainty without fear, because your security does not rest on fragile human systems. You can walk through loss without despair, because you know there is a day coming when every tear will be wiped away. You can resist the pull of greed, pride, and selfishness, because you understand that the treasures of this earth are temporary, but the treasures of heaven are forever. The world will tell you to invest everything in the here and now, to build your life around possessions, status, and comfort. But eternity calls you to invest in what will last beyond the grave. Acts of kindness, faithfulness to God, love for others, these are deposits in an account that time cannot touch. You cannot take your wealth with you when you die, but you can send it ahead by using it to bless others and advance what is eternal. There will come a day when the final page of history is turned. The cities we know will be gone. The noise of human ambition will be silent. In that moment, only one thing will matter. Did you put your trust in what is eternal, or did you cling to what was passing away? For those who built their hope on the unshakable foundation of God's promises, that day will be the beginning of joy beyond imagination. For those who place their hope in the temporary, it will be the day they realize they traded forever for what could never last. Today, you have a choice. You can build your life on the shifting sands of earthly hope, or you can anchor your soul to the rock of eternal hope. One will perish, the other will stand forever. One will leave you empty, the other will fill you with peace that no storm can take away. Time is short, this world is passing, but eternity is certain. And in that eternity, only one hope will remain, the hope that stands when everything else falls, the hope that outlives death itself. Choose that hope today, and you will never be disappointed. For the ready, the end is not fear, but joy. Those who have prepared their hearts for what is to come do not tremble when they hear whispers of the world's final day. They do not live under the shadow of dread when news reports speak of wars, disasters, or moral collapse. Instead, their eyes are fixed on something greater, a hope that cannot be shaken, a promise that cannot be broken, and a kingdom that cannot be destroyed. When the world fears the end, the prepared soul looks forward with anticipation. This is not because they are naive or blind to the chaos around them. They see the same storms, the same shaking, the same uncertainty that others see. But they also know something deeper, that the end is not a dark abyss, but a doorway into something more glorious than the human mind can fully imagine. Imagine a traveler who has been far from home for many years. The road has been long, the nights have been cold, and the journey has been filled with trials. Then, one day, they see the lights of home glowing in the distance. Every step forward may still be hard, but each one is filled with joy, because they know that soon they will walk through the door into the place where they belong. That is the heart of the one who is ready. They know that the end of this world is not a tragedy, but the long, awaited arrival at home. The end for them is the fulfillment of a promise. Every tear they have cried will be wiped away. Every wound they have carried will be healed. Every question they have struggled with will be answered in the presence of the one who formed them. What others see as destruction, they see as transformation, the passing away of what is temporary to make way for what is eternal. Fear grips the unprepared because they are clinging to what cannot last. They have placed their trust in possessions, in status, in pleasures that fade like morning mist. When those things begin to crumble, panic sets in because they have nothing left to hold on to. But those who are ready have anchored themselves in something far greater, a hope that reaches beyond this life. They have learned to live for the unseen rather than the visible, for the eternal rather than the temporary. To the prepared heart, the shaking of the world is not a curse, but a reminder. It is a signpost pointing to the fact that this earth was never meant to be our final home. Every storm, every trial, every global crisis whispers the same truth. Lift your eyes, the day is coming, stay ready. And because they are ready, they do not run from these signs, they recognize them as the unfolding of a plan much larger than themselves. There will come a moment when the skies themselves will testify that the end has arrived. The sun will darken, the earth will tremble, and every eye will witness the arrival of the King. For those who have prepared their hearts, This will not be a day of hiding in fear, but a day of stepping into light. It will be the moment when faith becomes sight, when the longing of the soul is finally satisfied. This joy is not shallow happiness that fades with circumstances. It is a deep, unshakable gladness born from trust in the one who promised never to leave or forsake his people. It is the assurance that no matter how fierce the storm, they are safe in the hands of the one who commands the winds and the waves. Yes, the world will end one day. The mountains will fall, the cities will crumble, and the systems of men will collapse. But for the ready, this is not the end of the story. It is the turning of the page into a chapter without sorrow, without pain, without death. It is the day when justice will be complete, when evil will be no more, and when love will reign without opposition. The prepared do not dread that day, they long for it. They live every moment with eternity in view, knowing that the best is yet to come. And when the trumpet sounds, they will not shrink back in fear, but rise with joy, for they will see the one they have been waiting for face to face. For the ready, the end is not fear, but joy, joy that cannot be taken, joy that cannot be silenced, joy that will last forever,